This is the Ordinary Business Podcast for business owners who want honest conversations, a lean business, and an extraordinary life on their own terms. Okay, Dr. Sapphire, what is the latest habit that you've been trying to implement or test out?
Well, the latest habit I've been trying to implement would be around my personal development, self-development that involves reading. So I have a reading goal, and I actually have these habits where every month I buy new books. So my local bookshop knows to tell me that, oh, these books are here. But it's like I keep buying new books, so I haven't gone through all these books. And so I'm trying to create a system where I'm able to read through the books, not just, stack them for aesthetics and all of that.
Nice, nice. As a fellow reader, I understand the problem with buying more books before you have finished the other books. I relate very much on that. Okay, so we are talking today about anchor habits and how you implement those in your day and your weeks. But before we get into that, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us about what you do.
Okay, that's great. So I'm Dr. Sapphire, and I am an email marketing strategist and educator. So I tell people when it comes to email marketing, I do it for you or I show you how. I'm also a medical doctor, obstetrician, gynecologist, and everybody's like, how do you do the two? Well, for me, it's all about two different things that I am entirely interested in, and I'm not interested in giving up one for the other.
I'm curious about with these anchor habits, what kind of got you to the point where you're like, okay, I need to try something different. I'm trying to set up new habits, but the way I've been trying to do it is not working.
So beginning of this year, I'm a goal setting person. I have a ton of goals, and sometimes I reset goals, review them. So usually I'll do a vision board, but this year I didn't do my vision board until middle of the year. But at the end of the year, I had written out all these goals, and then I had broken them into categories. So financial goals, fitness goals, career goals. I can be deep like that. And so after, putting out all of these goals, I realized that there were some that were more important for me because I had tried to achieve them before. And towards the end of the year, I'm like, I think I call it the end of year syndrome, but it's like, oh, you're down to the last 90 days, you haven't done this. Then everybody's coming with great locking, and you're like, I need to achieve my goals, that kind of thing. And so I started looking at this. I'm like, I've tried to do this thing in different ways over and over and over, and it's not working. So what can I do differently? I listened to all the videos, the podcasts, checked out books. And then I think one day, I don't know what I was looking at, but something just, flashed in my mind, and it's like, why don't I try tying it to something that I'm already doing, right? So something that's already working. And I'm like, okay, so let's start small. And then, I'm like, okay, so I want to be more fit, so to say. And so I picked out something that I knew that I could do, which was walking. So it's a walking thing. And then I'm like, okay, so let me tie it to something else that I know that I already do every single day. So every day I would, do this particular routine. So let's tie it, together. And that's how I started anchor habits.
So there's so many ways to approach goals and habits. And I feel like it just kind of comes down to your personality and your temperament and just kind of finding a system or approach or whatever you want to call it that really fits your personality, because the way that I set goals probably doesn't work for other people. So I love that you were like, let me just research this, see what all these other people are doing different ways, and then okay, let's try this approach and set. And I feel like tying it to something else you're already doing is very smart. But I'm curious if there's been any I say failed, but any experiments or attempts that didn't work.
Definitely, definitely. And it's still tied to what I said the first time, reading, but reading from a different angle. So I'm big on personal development, but I also have a career, and my career demands me to read, and stay abreast of everything that's going on. And so one of the things I wanted, so I had this goal, and everything usually will start with this goal. So I had this goal to be able to finish a particular workload in a particular time. And I would start it, and some days I'll be inconsistent, all of that. And so when I started this habit anchoring thing, I was like, okay, so let me do this for this goal because I mean, why haven't I finished it? I feel like it's doable, right? And so I was like, okay, so this was reading now, but academic reading, not more serious kind of reading, if I should put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, when I okay, so every day after work, because so I will go to work every day, at least Monday to Friday, right? So it's a thing that happens every day. And I'm like, okay, every day before I leave work, I have to read one thing before going home. But for some reason, I realized that it wasn't working. Like every day after work, I was not consistently reading one thing. I had to put in like extra effort to even go ahead to read something before I left work. And so I realized that maybe part of it was the timing. So every day after work, maybe I'm already tired, depending on the kind of day, and the day will not always end about the same time because the schedule for each day changes. And so that was something that I tried that didn't quite work out at all because I didn't end up, being able to achieve what it is that I tied to that. So yeah.
I really like how you weren't just like, oh man, this didn't work. Guess I just not going to do this. Or like but you were like, okay, why isn't this working? Because it feels doable. Let me like look at the timing and the other things and kind of just reflected on like why it didn't work. Because I feel like so often when we set goals or like try to implement something new, if it doesn't work, we just go to like, well, guess that's not going to happen. And then just totally drop it. And, it like we stop attempting and we call it a failure. But you took the time to like, how else can I approach this? What can I do differently? I'm curious with this habit anchoring, what personal habits do you feel like have been the most impactful this year that you've added in?
Okay, so I think the biggest one would be the fitness routine that I have started building. Before now, it has always been on and off, start and continue. But then with the habit anchoring, even if you peradventure drop the ball a couple of times, because it is anchored to something else. So for example, it's like I wasn't even doing anything that required me to go outside. Like it could happen in my house. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, before you go to the bathroom, right? Or before you start your preparation for your work day, you have to do this. So as part of the preparation for your work day, you can't do this other thing until you do this. And
Mm-hmm.
so every day I must prepare to go to work, right? So just adding it in and picking something that I knew that I could stick with. Because sometimes we want to do things and it may be over ambitious, right? But just putting that in has built a certain level of consistency for me more than I have had before. And without me having to put in so much sheer determination. Because there are times where it's like I'll have this routine that I'm building and it takes a lot of mental energy for me to even get into it. But with this, it's just like, oh, it's part of what I'm supposed to do, right? And so it's just easier. So that fitness habits that came from the habit anchoring is something that I would say has been impactful. Majorly because once you just start your routine, it's just there. It's like, oh, it's just like how you say, oh, you haven't brushed your teeth this morning. So it's like you haven't done it and you have to brush your teeth in the morning. So you have to do it because it's something that happens every day.
Yes. And I can totally appreciate like how certain habits and routines, especially new habits, can take a lot of mental energy. But I feel like once you get into this habit anchoring, it makes it easier, which yes, helps your personal life, but then I feel like it also trickles over into your business because you have more of that mental energy as a business owner. Do you feel like that it's trickled over to your business?
Actually, yes. So I would say that it would trickle over to my business because there's something about hitting goals or hitting milestones that puts me personally in like a better creative space, right? To be
Mhm.
able to do more. So it's like, oh, I did this today, so I'm starting my day on like a high note because I've checked this particular thing that I struggled with. So it's like this one win, this one success, and then it's like, oh, now let's go do more. And so you have that energy to be able to just like hit off every other thing that you have to do for the day.
Mhm. I know some people like use apps to like keep track of daily habits and I drank my water and I did my walk and whatever. Do you use any apps or reminders or even like post-it notes on your mirror or is it just like all up in your brain and you're like I got to try this new habit?
I'm gonna confess and say I think I've tried them all, from the sticky notes to downloading multiple apps, because sometimes I'll download two and I'm like, I love how this app is looking, the visual, and then this other one, the UI just has this extra, and it's like, oh, maybe I'll
Mhm.
pick both of them and then pick which one works better. And then I even printed out like a tracking sheet. So I designed the tracking sheet for like the quarter, printed it out, and I found myself ticking until one day I just realized that, oh, it's been a while since we ticked anything off. But I think that because this is something that is becoming routine, which is like what the Anchor Habits is trying to get me to. So it's becoming routine. It's becoming part of my everyday, like how I do my everyday stuff. I realized that I didn't necessarily need to tick it on paper for me to get it done. And so even without having to do the apps, the paper and pen, I just found that it was becoming more consistent because it was becoming routine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so my last question for those who are listening and they're like, okay, I want to like start some new habits. I want to start doing this, soon. What is like a very simple first step that they could take?
Okay, so a very simple first step would be to make a list. Make a list because there are so many things that you would want to, like even as we're talking, there's so many things you'd be like, oh, I want to try this out, wait, I'm trying to. So make a list. Let's have all those things in one place. Now, once you make a list, you pick one thing because sometimes trying to start too many things at once will just break the system for you. So you pick one thing and then you tie it to something that you know you're already doing consistently, regularly, that like you don't have to think about, but you're already doing. Like maybe somebody every day you go to work at a workspace is something that you know will happen every day because that's like your default. So you pick something you know that is already working and then see how you can connect it to that particular thing.
Mm. Yes, very good advice. Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Where can we connect with you online and learn more about what you do?
You can find me on Instagram, Dr. Sapphire. I'm sure the link will be in the show notes because there are some dots and underscores in it. And of course, you can also check out our website, sapphirelearninghubtogether.com.
Awesome. I will put that in the show notes. But thank you so much for being here.